Oh, summer in Germany. When the days are long, the sun finally shines, and there are thunderstorms. You heard that right. This is a roller coaster of a season, as I like to call it. And in this video, we will share 10 things you need to know to be able to survive summer in Germany. Plus, at the end of the video, we will give you 7 tips to be well prepared for this time in Germany. Hey, my name is Jen, and I'm from Guatemala.
And mine is Yvonne, and I'm German.
And together we're from Simple Germany, where we create English content to help internationals settle into life in Germany more smoothly.
Additional to this YouTube channel, we also run our website simplegermany.com, where we have written in-depth guides on topics that we don't cover on YouTube. So be sure to check that out as well.
Point number 1 is the weather. We cannot talk about this without talking about the weather.
Ongoing
right?
story, yes.
So, according to the meteorological calendar, I hope I said that right, summer in Germany, or in Europe, or in the world pretty much, starts on the 21st of
June.
That is correct. And summer usually is from June till the end of August, we'll say, are the sunniest and warmest months of the year.
Yeah, supposed to be.
We did some research, and according to that research, the average temperature in Germany during summer is 23 degrees Celsius, or more or less 74 degrees Fahrenheit.
However, that is the average temperature. Average means pretty much nothing, because the extremities of summer is what you will remember, or you will feel and suffer through the most.
Yeah.
Why we say suffer, we will explain more in this video, but there are common heat waves in Germany, and they can last 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. It doesn't, it really depends on the wave itself. So much so that there have been temperatures that have risen above the 40 degrees Celsius, that is above 104 Fahrenheit, which for Germany is really, really hot. And usually at this time, then it's also quite humid. So you really feel this sticky, hot humidity. And it's not so nice, to be honest.
Yes, so this is an extreme example. Other examples is the other extreme, where it's in the middle of summer and then you have the beautiful thunderstorms, which sometimes even hail falls.
Very true. Or thunderstorms, like you just said, just because it's the heat is, you feel it in the air and then it just needs to release, cool down, and then the next day is fine again. But also we've had first weekend of July, supposed to be warm and sunny, and it was just raining, cats and dogs, 15 degrees, windy, and it was just yuck, and you thought it was fall or spring or I don't know what.
Yeah, that's true. So you can have any extremity, really. You can have amazing days and you can have very weird days, I would say. Which leads to point number 2, which let's talk about a positive thing, is that in summer, if you have never experienced the different seasons in your country, summer days are very long, which is really cool. In the north, for example, in the Berlin area, during summer, the sunrise can be as early as 4:40 in the morning.
Yep.
And the sunset can be as late as 9:30.
What? But 9:30, but however, it still stays bright for another hour. So you can stay outside until let's say 11-ish with more or less daylight, and that is really cool.
That is really cool. So on average, you could have even 17 hours of sunlight during a day.
Daylight, yeah.
Which is such a big contrast to winter. If you haven't watched that video, there's a whole video of winter in Germany where we also talk about sunshine and stuff. So that is pretty amazing. I think that's my favorite thing of summer. It's the long days, which, if you work, after you go out of work, then you still have, I don't know how many hours to enjoy sun.
Right.
Yeah, so that's really cool. Which leads to point number 3 on our list, which is during summer, of course, because it's the best season of the year. Depends. For some it is, for some it is not. For me it is, at least. But because of that, and because the school holidays also land during summer, you should be aware that a lot of people will travel during this time.
Yes, so school holidays in Germany typically are 6 weeks in summer. It's the longest stretch. They're not all at the same time. They vary depending on the state, so that not all of Germany is off at the same time, like smartness here. So not everything is overloaded, highways and planes and I don't know what.
Yeah.
But just be sure to check the times of your state, and maybe plan around that if you don't have children, or plan within it if you do have children.
Exactly. And just mind you, because it's a high demand time or high season of traveling, prices tend to be a little bit more expensive during summer than the rest of the year. Point number 4 on the list
is one of Jen's biggest pet peeves.
Yes, this is, first let's say what it is that there is, generally speaking, no AC in apartments and in office buildings.
I would beg to differ.
It depends on the office.
You have had bad luck and you have not had AC in offices, whereas in all the offices I have worked, I have had AC. So I would say this is a very subjective suffering that Jen has experienced.
Yes, I would agree with the office building part. I've also had some certain jobs that I have had AC, and sometimes I would have stayed longer just to enjoy the AC because I know it's really hot outside. And it's not like I am a big fan of AC. It's not like I need it for my life. But when it's 40 degrees outside, it's really hot. And you're trying to work during this time, it's very impossible if there's no AC. The concentration is just really hard. I once had an office where we had like these leather chairs, and of course, I was lucky enough that you could wear like shorts or like, skirts or whatever for other type of women that wear skirts. And it sounds very disgusting, but while working, if you would stand up, like your skin would get stuck.
You need to put a towel underneath.
Because can you imagine? Because you're sweating so much, how can you concentrate? To the extent that we've had a thing called hitzefrei in the offices that had no AC. Can you explain what hitzefrei, or did I say that right?
Yeah, hitzefrei. Yeah. Hitzefrei is typically like a term that only comes up in schools. It's like when it gets too hot, that it's unbearable to still focus, that school ends early because during, the later school gets into the lunchtime, the hotter it gets. So hitzefrei is pretty amazing for kids because you can leave school early, but
and for
companies
workers
also do it sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. So I think in my journey, or like in this one's particular office, or in my working without AC building office journey, I've had hitzefrei maybe 3 times in the past 10 years or so, because it's really unbearable. Okay, so the office building part. But the apartments, generally speaking, I would say the majority of apartments have no AC, and you have the same problem.
You have the same problem. However, I would argue not everyone like us lives under a roof that is not well insulated, and everything is wood, so it literally smells like a sauna in summer. So this is extreme what we are experiencing. But if you do live under a roof, or you're very sensitive to warmth, there is no AC in apartments, at least in 90% of them.
Yes, we've seen lately modern apartments that actually now have an AC unit. And during research why Germany doesn't have AC in general,
electricity is expensive.
Exactly. That's one of the main reasons. Electricity, if you didn't know, it's actually one of the most expensive in Germany compared to Europe. The prices here are just very, very expensive.
Yeah. Plus, it doesn't make sense for the 6, 7, 8 days that are so hot to have AC installed.
That is true. Because of the AC situation, another thing that you might find yourself doing is actually enjoying even more than ever to go to the supermarket, because especially in the refrigerated area, that's where everything is so cool. But it gets so hot sometimes that even in the supermarkets, they put in front of the refrigerated area like special curtains to keep the cool from like escaping. Yeah. So sometimes we even hide behind the curtains for a little bit just to have a little bit of fresh cooling down before we go outside.
Okay, but just to make sure again, this happens you can count those days on your fingers. It's not the common.
True. That is true.
Like summer.
My Latino here likes to exaggerate sometimes. So as Yvonne already mentioned, which leads to my point number 5 on the list, is that yes, because the days are long and it's so hot, then people really do a lot of outdoor activities.
Exactly. So you should go out and enjoy yourself. What Jen mentioned earlier, if you finish work and it's still super bright and it's still super warm, just, people go outside with their co-workers, with their friends, have a beer, have a glass of wine, and literally just enjoy themselves until sun sets like at 10, 11-ish.
Yeah, which leads to the point that during this time, particular summer, for me, at least in my perception, is like every German city just turns to life. Everything just starts popping up. You have outdoor cinemas. You have a night in the museum here in Düsseldorf, for example, which is like a whole night that you can go to the museums and you have a bus. Really cool thing.
Well, all the outdoor pools open, the lakes, like the swimming lakes are open. Everything, everything is just, like people are outside nonstop. Everything is opening. There is kirmeses, fun fairs in all of the cities.
The beer gardens open. You have different other kinds of individual festivals outside. It's just a really fun time. Yes. Also here in Düsseldorf, I think in other parts of Germany as well, you have fish markets that also open, which is super popular. You have music playing outside. It's a really cool time, really. I just feel like it's where cities, like I said, just pop to life.
The buzz,
exactly. Which leads to point number 6 on our list, and that is because people enjoy being outside a lot, they tend to go to parks a lot.
Yes, yeah, parks. For us, also the area by the Rhine, it's like a semi-park, and you just chill there. You either suntan. Germans love to suntan.
Oh yes, you do see Germans with their, I'm sorry, maybe they're not all Germans. People
in Germany.
You see people in Germany with their bikinis in a grass area, just taking the sun, not close to a body of water, just to suntan. Yeah, that is true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like fill up your vitamin D.
Yes, very important.
Stores.
Yes.
Barbecue, read, put on the slack line, play sports. anything you can imagine, like the parks are filled with life.
So make sure to check where you live, what activities are outside during summer, because I'm pretty sure there are tons that you can enjoy.
That leads us to ask you, what is your favorite thing to do in summer? Is there like this one specific activity, or do you like to do everything?
What is your favorite thing to do in summer?
Whew. It used to be going to the lake, to be honest, until they're overcrowded nowadays. Yeah. And I guess I just love to sit outside since we don't have a balcony, just chill in the park by the Rhine and enjoy time with friends.
Yeah, mine is eating ice cream and having barbecues. Which leads to number 7, which, yes, it's amazing to be outside and outdoors. However, I need to point something out. And is that the population or the amount of bees and wasps that you will see in the outdoor areas increase during summertime.
Yes.
We don't know, we didn't do research on the why, we just know it happens. At least in Dusseldorf, right?
No, anywhere, I would say.
Yeah,
anywhere.
That's true.
And there are years where there's more wasps or bees, and then there's years where else. So that's very important. You're not allowed to kill them. It's actually, they're protected.
Yes.
However, you need to be alert, especially when you're outdoors having like sugary drinks, to cover them and don't let them out of your sight unless otherwise this happens.
Yes, so I had a sugary drink, which was, by the way, was like a non-alcoholic Radler. If it would have been a beer, maybe it would have not happened, right? And then we were at the park, and then I took a sip, and I'm like, oh, what is that? And then I felt a massive pain on my tongue. I spat whatever it was out, and I saw it was a bee. It wasn't a wasp, right? It was a bee?
I don't know,
because it was like such a shock-in moment. To the extent that we had to call like 112 and ask, hey, like, you know, my wife just got stung by a bee on the tongue. What should we do? We had to go to the emergency room. Nothing happened. I'm not allergic to these kind of stings, and nothing happened. It just swelled. It was painful for quite some minutes. And at the hospital, they just left me in a waiting room and said, if nothing happens, you can
just go home.
Yeah. So
take an ice
so
cube.
Be careful.
Some ice cream.
And also you should know that wasps really enjoy eating meat. So if you have like a ham or anything meaty outside, or like a wurst, sausage and stuff, they would tend to come over and actually bite, like take a big chunk to take back to their home.
There are some myths that like putting copper coins on the tables and stuff keeps them away, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Just, just live with them pretty much. You need to coexist.
Yes, exactly. And the very important thing is don't freak out when wasps come to you, because if you start freaking out and waving and whatever, they become more aggressive, and then the chances of them stinging is a lot higher. So you should just, like Yvonne says, like learn to coexist with them. They're not dangerous unless they obviously go into your drink and you drink them. I mean, it's their defense mechanism, right? But other than that, I mean, yeah. I rarely, that was 2 times I've been stung by a bee, actually.
I've
in
never
10
been
years.
stung by a bee.
Maybe it's the sugary coat that I have as a Latina.
Or let's just say that you become more.
Yeah, maybe also. I freak out a little bit, but I try to remain calm. Okay, now that we complained about the bees a little bit, let's jump into point number 8, which is really cool, and that is music festivals in Germany.
One more thing that we didn't mention earlier with all the things that happen during summer are, of course, the music festivals. And Germany is notorious for huge outdoor music festivals. Come rain or come shine, they really pretty much operate all along. They might have interruptions if the thunderstorm is too much for like 3 hours, but then they just continue. And some of the most famous ones are Perukaville, Wacken, which of course is like the heavy metal festival in the north, and how can we not talk about the Rock am Ring and the Rock im Park, which happen on the same weekend. I mean, rock says it all, right? And
you mean rock?
Rock, and are super, super popular. Several days, people camp and just celebrate and enjoy their time. Yeah,
and interestingly enough, alone Germany has 1,000 or over 1,000 music festivals. We couldn't find a specific number because they range from like really big festivals like this Rock am Rhein and Rock am Ring, which there's roughly 150,000 people attending, to very local small festivals where maybe there's just a couple thousand attending. Why are you laughing? Did I say that wrong?
You said Rock am Rhein.
Well, Rock am Ring.
And Rock im Park.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Number 9 is that if you tend to go to an office to do your job, then you should know or consider what are the dressing policies for that office.
Yes, so depending on your company culture and depending on how you dress the rest of the year, it might be very relaxed and you don't even need to think about it. However, if you have a somewhat, I wouldn't even say strict, but where people take care of what they wear, please talk to a colleague or your supervisor on the summer dress code, because if you don't have AC, like Jen just mentioned, and it is super warm, you might want to wear shorts, which might not be appropriate. So for example, in my company, we did have a specific summer dress code that was sent around at the beginning of summer, which pretty much stated like no flip-flops, no shorts for guys, but skirts for girls, no shoulder-free like shirts, just, you know, the minimum appropriate attire pretty much. And that was because we were receiving also customers into the office. And what I used to do usually is that I would dress appropriate for the office, and if I knew I'd be going out in the evening and it was one of those really hot days, I would just pack my shorts, pack my flip-flops, and then change after work and then go outside and enjoy myself.
Yeah, that's very true. And the cool thing about wearing this attire like inside when you have AC is that you don't feel the heat as strong.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
It's comfortable to do it.
Yeah.
Versus in the offices that I worked at where there was no AC, that would not be possible. It would be very unbearable. Yeah, so that's cool. Which leads then to our last point of our 10 things is that, if you're also working, is that don't be surprised because the majority of companies have summer parties.
True, yes. So typically in a company in Germany, you have 2 parties per year, company parties, a Christmas party and a summer party. And the summer party is the more relaxed, more outgoing, more like less traditional one compared to the Christmas party one.
Yeah, true.
And usually the companies choose cool locations and invite you for dinner and drinks. And depending on your company, you might, dance and really party afterwards. It really depends, but be sure to go because it's a great event to get to know your colleagues, mingle a bit, and socialize a little bit, like less formal.
Yeah, I agree. I think the summer parties that I've been to, they've been pretty awesome. Yeah. And they're very relaxed, as you mentioned. Yeah. Before we jump into our quick tips for surviving summer in Germany, if you're liking this video, make sure to hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then please consider subscribing to our channel if you want to see more content like this one. And if you want to go the additional mile, you can always buy us at coffee at simplegermany.com/coffee. Thanks for your support. Quick tips. Let's do this quickly. Tip number 1.
Always carry a rain jacket or an umbrella, even if it's hot.
Yes, especially as we mentioned, because there are thunderstorms. Tip number 2, always consider carrying a deodorant with you. There are these travel size deodorants that you can buy from DM and Rossmann. Trust me, you're gonna sweat a lot, so at least I need to deodorize myself a few times during the summer days. Tip number 3.
Always carry a bottle of water with you. You never know how long you stay out, and hydration, especially if it's hot, is important.
Tip number 4, if you're cycling to work, consider packing extra clothes so you can change when you go to work. For example, I had to cycle before 20 minutes more or less to go to work, so I would wear my sports clothes because I tend to sweat a lot, and when I would arrive to the office, I would change into my work clothes.
I used to cycle 10 minutes and I never changed clothes, but then again, I don't sweat as much.
There you go. Tip number 5.
Depending on what your living circumstance is, consider getting a fan before summer, because if you try to get a fan in those heat waves, they most likely will be sold out.
Tip number 6, like your mama told you, use sunscreen.
Yes, even though you think you don't need it because you come from a sunny place, she was never as much outside in the sun as in Germany, in Guatemala.
True, that is true. So that's why I always wear sunscreen whenever it's summer and I go outside, or when it's sunny in general. And tip number 7 is to plan your holidays smartly. As we have mentioned before, summer is the time where a lot of people travel, and we have prepared a whole video talking about how to prepare for your vacations in Germany, which you can check out next. Until next time, cheers!